Hey everyone, let's talk about The Martian by Andy Weir. I listened to the audiobook, but more about that later. Let's first talk about the story. The Martian is set on Mars, and we have an astronaut, Mark Watney, who got left behind by his crew because everybody thought he was dead. There was an accident and they couldn't find him, so they left. And he's not dead. Somehow he survives, and that's what all this book is about his survival, about his fight to stay alive on Mars and to get home. We don't only have Mark Watney's point of view, we also have people on Earth finding out that he's not dead and trying to save him and all the things going on there. The narration is in two parts. Every time we hear from Mark Watney, we hear his logbook entries. So we always get a date stamp like Sol 1, Sol 6, Sol 365, things like that. And all his log entries tell us what he's been doing, how he's feeling, what's been going on Mars. And I really enjoyed this part of the novel. It was very interesting and very captivating. You really got sucked into Mark's life, being stuck on Mars and all the things he does. For everything that's happening on Earth, we have a narrator that is not part of the story, so he's outside telling us what's going on there, what the people do, and talking about all the characters there. And that is a good mix for the story, because at first I thought, okay, it's very interesting to hear what Mark Watney does, but it's pretty one-sided. And as soon as we also included the people on Earth and them knowing that he's there and trying to save him, and combined, it was a great mix of storytelling, and it was also a great structure for the novel to keep you interested and informed. Story-wise, nothing much happens, even though a lot of things happen. It's very weird to explain, but we basically have Mark fighting for his life and making a lot of adjustments. There's a lot of technical talk, and I do have to admit, listening to it, I could zone out, and with all the abbreviations he used, I sometimes was lost as to what things meant, but it's not overall that important. I cannot say if all the technical stuff he talks about is realistic or not. I wouldn't know. So those are things that didn't bother me. It didn't bother me that there was a lot of detail about when he fixes this machine or how he adapted and changed that machine. What I found very interesting with this novel is that even though nothing much happens apart from Mark talking about his actions and the people on Earth trying to save him, you're really sucked into it. It's captivating. You cannot stop reading. I found myself listening to the first 5 hours in one go because I couldn't stop. And that rarely happens to me. I usually can concentrate for about an hour and a half when I listen to a story. Talking about the characters, I really liked Mark Watney. The way he talks about things, his attitude, and his character of dealing with things. And I really enjoyed how he's not so nice about everything. Some chapters or log entries start with, "I'm fucked. Oh my god, I'm fucked." And you just feel his frustration, and you see that he's really stressed, and you're sitting on the edge of your seat hoping that everything will solve itself and that he will find a solution there. And I think this is a very strong part of the novel, that you just feel with this one character and his struggle to survive, and you don't even know that much about him. We don't know that much about Mark that I could say like what he does outside of Mars. Couldn't really tell. The same goes for all the other characters. We're not going into detail, family life, personal interactions. Some things you pick up as they are mentioned when people talk, but there's no concentration on interpersonal relationships and stuff. And I enjoyed this immensely. This novel is not about people interacting, but about surviving and what people do to survive and how people can work together to help one person to survive. And that is a strong part of this novel. This novel is really well done. Everything fits well together, apart from something at the end where he basically tells us the moral of the story. And I thought that was unnecessary because it was pretty clear to understand. But yeah. Okay, a few more words about the audiobook. I find that reading this book on audio probably made me read it faster. Due to all the technical details, if I had to read them in a book, I might just get bored and put them down. But with somebody reading them to me and telling me about them, I found that I didn't have to listen too carefully and I didn't get bored, but I was just like, okay, he's doing this with that. So I had an idea maybe somehow, but I didn't have to read all the technical things. So that's what I liked about the audiobook. I also liked the narrator's voice for Mark Watney. He really gives his character some attitude and he personifies it perfectly. What I didn't really like so much is that he mainly used the same voice for everything else as well. So for everyone else, it didn't really fit that much, especially for the narrator of everything that was going on Earth. He gave the different characters different voices, but the narrator mainly had the same voice as Mark Watney, and I thought that was a little bit distracting in the beginning and sometimes in the middle, but yeah, what can you do? You only have one voice. When it came to the abbreviations and all the technical stuff, even though listening to it made me go through it faster, I think reading about it and seeing all the details there might have helped a little bit in understanding what exactly he's talking about. But then again, it's the technical details. Not interested. So if you're interested in The Martian, I would recommend the audiobook because you just can't stop listening, you can't put it down, and you're just sucked into the world with all the sound and voices, and there's no distraction. I really like that. Also, I think this would make a very good movie, and I think someone said they're making one with Matt Damon, which I can approve. I'd go and see that. Alright, I know that a lot of you have read The Martian, so let's talk in comments, try not to spoil people, and thank you for watching.